Hello and welcome back to another episode of With Love Mama, the podcast. This episode is something I wish I knew, or I don't want to say like I wish I knew in the sense of like there's a regret there, but it's just something that like I didn't get told this, I didn't have this conversation before having my son, and I just think it's like a really nice conversation to have as a like if you're going into motherhood or you're in your preconception journey, right? Because there's this whole thing around, you know, wanting to be fully healed and like perfect and having no triggers and everything to be the perfect mum. But I just think it's so unnecessary because motherhood, you can't go into it ready. You can't go into it this perfect version of yourself. If you get hyper fixated on that idea of having to keep fixing yourself and oh no, another trigger's come up and like XYZ, you're just like creating this unnecessary fear for yourself, because like I just said, motherhood is like the most triggering in the most beautiful way experience ever, because it's almost it is the initiation actually into who you are becoming and like who you truly are at your core. This is honestly like, this is obviously like really my belief system. We all run on different belief systems, so take what lands for you. But I just truly believe like becoming a mum is when you can begin to feel like so whole in yourself. And it doesn't mean you can't feel whole prior, but it's just this different kind of wholeness when you become a mum. So I know like some common stories that I was telling myself. And if you're not aware, so we didn't plan Kodak's pregnancy. He just appeared in my womb. It was a crazy time because I was tracking my cycle, and there was actually quite literally, it's crazy how he was conceived. But anyway, I think like this can just happen sometimes, and it's just like they are like your little angel babies, and they come in the most divine timing, because I was one of those people who was like wanting to feel ready. And like I've just said, like feeling ready, like it's actually just so it can be such a block. It can be such a block, especially if you're someone who's like, you know, a bit of a control freak, which I definitely can be. So again, by the way, guys, this episode I'm recording literally in the car because I'm just being efficient. Like we're doing home visits for some of my clients, and it's just like I can just drive in the car and speak to you, and it's just two birds with one stone, and it feels so good. So hopefully you can hear me okay. I did finally get like a good microphone, so it's like a bit better than the old Apple headphones I started off with. Anyway, so some of like the lies that I was telling myself, and I say lies, but I also just like, it was actually what I believed, right? And you hear this through so many women, is I don't want to pass anything down, especially if you had like a rough childhood, because you don't want to like play into the same patterns. You don't want your kids to experience the same thing. So it's so easy to get like really stuck on like the whole like, oh, I just gotta like work on this first. And also another one is that you like want to feel 100% ready or confident going into it. Like, but the most important thing to remember here is like when you're actually pregnant, like I just feel like your brain chemistry, well, I don't feel like it actually does change. You start like really thinking like more primally, and you just begin to know, like it's this women's intuition. We are so incredible. And I have spoken of this before, and it's like we literally are so intuitive, and it kicks in so hardcore as soon as you're pregnant. So you almost like become ready through your pregnancy, because as I'm always saying, pregnancy is a transitional phase in our life. Like we're transitioning into that next version of ourselves that is a mother, right? So it's just like, I don't know, these stories, like you might have your own, I might be saying these and they might sound relatable, but it's also really important, as I say, pregnancy is transitional, that this can then bring up triggers for you. It can bring up things that you didn't even know were like under the surface. And it's just like, it can just happen, right? And you're just like, whoa, where did that come from? Or, whoa, I really thought that I had healed that. And it's just another layer of it, because potentially you have. Postpartum can also surface things that you didn't know were there. And it doesn't, again, mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you need to fear about like your child taking anything on. And I just want to also say, like, I think I said this in last week's episode, is your baby, if we're getting a little bit woo-woo, we're getting a little bit spiritual, your baby has chosen your womb space, your soul, to bring life to them, to their soul, right? To be their mother. And they've done this knowing what they're signing up for. If we look at our like soul blueprint, right? Like we've got the Akashic records, like everything's already written in the stars, and this is being very spiritual, very woo-woo, but it's all already there. Like our souls have contracts, all of these things, right? Your baby knows, like on that like deeply spiritual level, your baby knows the timeline that they are choosing. They know the version of you that they are choosing. They have a series of lessons to teach you, and you have a series of lessons to teach them, and this is just what happens. This is just life, right? So it's just, there's also that like spiritual woo-woo side to it to remember. But going back to triggers, like triggers are just a place, it's an invitation for you to like know where to grow. It's literally an invitation. It's like, okay, this is triggering me. We can either get stuck in this, or we can actually take it as an invitation from our higher self to grow. Because in this season, in preconception, especially if you're having difficulties in that conception phase as well, and then in the pregnancy, and then in postpartum motherhood, your nervous system, it's getting stretched, it's getting pulled, it's getting shifted, it's getting altered, it's getting changed in ways that you literally can't even, like no other experience can replicate the way that motherhood and the whole journey from beginning to entering motherhood and being in motherhood, nothing can replicate that. And that's just so important to remember too. Like it's actually a huge, huge, huge thing. Okay. I just need to take a breath. You know me, I'm pregnant, and I feel like I'm just sitting here simply recording, and it's just like, oh my goodness, give me a second. If you are going to also like wait until you're ready, I feel like it's just setting unrealistic expectations on yourself as well, which I think I did that quite a bit. Like when I would look into the future, I'd be like, I don't want to repeat this. I don't want to repeat this. I want to make sure that I'm here. And that actually is like a really big thing that so many people say, oh, I didn't know I was like especially with unplanned pregnancy, it's like I was really hoping that I would own 3 houses and have $100,000 spare sitting in the bank account before I had a kid. Look, these things are great pockets of security, but at the end of the day, all a baby needs is present parents and a safe environment to grow. That is all a baby or a child needs. Obviously, we need food, we need water, like there's all of that comes with it, but these materialistic things that we believe are going to help us be the most perfect parent, mother, they actually don't matter, because a child just wants present parents, safety, a safe home, you know, like that, like, and regulated. And it doesn't mean you have to be regulated 100% of the time. It's just like coming back to that regulation as much as you possibly can, I think, is just like so beautiful. So I think we're going to go into like a bit of like, what can you do instead? Because it's not that you need to fix yourself. That is absolutely not. But what do we need to do instead so that we're not in that like trying to fix it? We're not good enough as we are. We want to shift out of that. That's not what we want to be doing. One moment, I actually parked my car for a little bit and in a bus stop, and I didn't know there was a bus, which is so silly of me. Hold on. I'm just really bringing you along for the ride. And I feel like as well, I've actually had so many people be like to me, oh my God, I love how you just like leave everything in your podcast episodes. And I'm like, thank you. Because I am someone who used to struggle with perfectionism a lot, and it still comes up, of course. But honestly, I'm like, this space, like where we are right now with Love Mama, it is real, it is raw, it is exactly what is happening. And I don't want to cut out the bits that aren't perfect, because motherhood isn't perfect. And that's the whole point of this, right? We just want to feel seen. Like, nothing, yeah, anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. So I want to talk about like what do we need to do instead. So it's, again, not about fixing yourself, because we are perfect as we are to do the job of becoming a mother. Our body, our intuition, everything, it just, we know what we're going to do. We are born equipped, right, as women. But I think a really important thing to start doing is bringing awareness to your patterns, because if without awareness, you can definitely like make it out as though, okay, not make it out, but if you don't have awareness of them, they can be playing out, and it can be like, what is wrong with me? I'm not a good enough mom. I keep doing this. But you don't have the awareness of why, or like where it could be coming from or stemming from. So it's not about fixing these patterns. It's not about, and of course you can do that. Of course you can slowly chip away at things that make you feel like you are a better version of yourself. That is growth, that is evolution, that is what we want to do. But firstly, starting with the awareness is the most important piece, because it actually allows you to understand yourself, understand what's going on, and know that you're not like crazy or that you have something wrong with you, because it's not that you have something wrong with you. It's just that there's a little part of you from your childhood or from earlier in your life that is feeling triggered and is trying to protect you, because at the end of the day, our triggers are really just like our protectors coming to play. We have internal protectors that try and keep us safe, and sometimes safe isn't necessarily comfortable. It's comfortable for our protectors and for like our nervous system, but it's not comfortable on like on that level of like, you know, it's not good, you know, the pattern's not good, you know, this, whatever. So, you know, having that awareness is absolutely stunning. Another thing that is really great to implement, and again, we're not fixing ourselves, we're just bringing in some things. And you can start this at the end of your pregnancy, you can start this in motherhood. Maybe you are already a mum and you're like just having this like little awakening of like having triggers and all the things. Like, perfect, absolutely perfect. Remember what I said, your baby has chosen this timeline. You are learning as you go, we're all learning as we go. It's always perfect timing, but having tools to support your nervous system regulation. And it's not necessarily, I think we can get lost in seeing mumfluencers on Instagram or TikTok, and you know, they're getting up before their baby, which, good for you, mum. I wish I could do that. My baby's an early riser. He's always liked waking up early. Some mornings we can get a little sneaky 7 a.m. sleep in, but honestly, I think it's happened like 3 times in his life. He just loves waking up at like 5:30, between 5:30 and 6. So anyway, I digress. You know, you see these like mumfluencers and they're posting their morning routine, and they're like up before the sun, journaling, having a cacao and meditating, and then their baby wakes up, and then they're doing yoga and their baby's crawling around, and then they're making a big nutritious breakfast, and then they're going on a big beach walk, and then they're going out with a friend. It's just like all these things, and it's like not to demonize any of that, because we love a cacao in the morning, we love a meditation in the morning. But also, motherhood looks so different on everyone. It's just like a dress. It's just like a pair of shoes, or, you know, a t-shirt. It's not going to look the same on every single body, just like motherhood, right? So that might really suit that mum who's sharing her life online, and that's how her morning looks. But it doesn't mean that your morning, when you're getting woken up by your child and then they're wanting to breastfeed for 45 minutes, and then you haven't had your coffee and your hair's a mess, and then you're rinsing your face when they have their first nap, and then you get a walk in and it's not till 11 a.m. and then you get sunburnt from the sun because it's 11 a.m. not 7 a.m. Like, the chaos of it is actually perfect and fine, because it actually is just how it can look on some women, and it's not a forever thing. Like, it's not always going to be like that chaotic. Like, I remember, you know, when Kodak was a bit younger, and it would be like this whole, okay, we've got to time his naps, we've got to know what's going on, we've got to like really like lock in, because then I can like know like this is the perfect time, he'll be asleep in the car, get to the gym, whatever. And now he's older, it's honestly like he wakes up that little bit later now. Like, he is waking up more around the 6:30 mark. So my body clock's just like, hit on that 5 a.m. because I was so used to waking up for like a year at that time. So now I can sort of like quickly get up, like get myself ready, have some breakfast, and then he's usually waking up around then anyway. And like it's a bit more calm. It's a bit more regulating, I shall say. But I think it's just like coming back to like what I was actually saying is like bringing tools in. So it's like things that work in your routine, because everyone's routine is completely different. And that was my whole point of trying to get to that. Maybe you can meditate before bed. That's what I do. I find meditating, I go to bed, we have like our red lights on, go to bed, do a meditation, whether it's like EFT tapping or listening to affirmations or a guided meditation, or sometimes I'm just like connecting in with my breath. It's actually that simple. That's how I do it. It works so good for me. Other times I go to the gym most days, and this is honestly huge on my mental health. So that's like a nice tool that I have. Obviously, if that's not available to you, it could just be going on like a walk. There's just like finding the things that really bring balance to your nervous system. And stay tuned, because I actually have a little online course, a mini course coming your way very soon that is going to like really deep dive into nervous system regulation, limiting beliefs, meditations, breath work, like all the things. I'm just going to have it like a library for you. So definitely keep that in mind. But let's go back. So just remembering, it doesn't have to be like a 50-step routine. It can literally just be one thing. Maybe your morning coffee and like sitting outside and having that is actually nervous system regulating for you. Absolutely perfect. Let's make sure we're doing it. Again, I need a breath. How do I try and like go, I'm just gonna do a 15-minute episode, and then I'm just here like yapping. No wonder I've always had a podcast, because I'm just so good at yapping. Anyway, another thing that is like really cool that you can implement now is getting yourself in safe spaces. Because like I said, it's so easy to compare to like the mum online who's only sharing the good. But there's the raw, there's the messy, there's the vulnerable, there's the hard that comes with motherhood. And if you are not getting yourself in rooms or in spaces where you can actually be seen in that, and it's not about becoming a victim to motherhood, that is absolutely not what it is. What it is about is connecting in with other mums and feeling seen, heard, and valued in where you are in your life right now, because it is huge. And we are constantly in motherhood going through like that transition. We're growing, we're evolving, we're grieving, we're loving. It's this beautiful, messy process, and it just continues. It doesn't matter how old your children are. So getting yourself into safe spaces. I do have an upcoming event on the 11th of April on the Sunshine Coast in Maroochydore. So that is upcoming. That's called Held, a Space for Mamas, and that's for preconception, pregnant, and postpartum mums to come together. We're going to be having cacao ceremony, meditation, womb healing, connection with each other, and we're going to be having these conversations just as they organically come up, because they of course going to organically come up. It's a safe space for us to just all be held together. If you are interested, the link is below for coming along. I'm also running a giveaway over on my Instagram, so make sure you go check it out so you can like win your space free. But like these safe spaces are just unmatched, and if you haven't got yourself into one yet, it can feel super scary, and it can be like, oh, like you can get all those stories come up. I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, I don't have the time, I won't know what to say, I feel awkward, this just feels foreign to me. Lean in. Honestly, lean in, because growth happens when you lean into that little bit of discomfort, and that is how you can start to shift out of the triggers and out of the unregulated mess that you might be feeling right now in motherhood. Another thing is just education and just like understanding what's going on, like what potentially like could be happening through like pregnancy, postpartum, so you're not going in blindsided. But like I said, honestly, I feel like for the most part, a lot of women, when you become pregnant, you very much like this, your brain, it changes, and you're like, okay, and you just kind of know what to do, and like things just, it's just like this process. I feel like it's just I'm not really making sense, but you just like you know, and I feel like the right resources usually like come their way. But if you are someone who's like, oh, I'll just learn it as I go, you know, potentially this could just be a nice invitation for you to just go, actually, I'm going to listen to like a podcast about XYZ. I'm going to read this book, or I'm just going to have a conversation with a mum friend, because that's all it really has to be. But I think when you go in blindsided, you can be setting yourself up just a teeny weeny bit to really not expect what how intense motherhood can be, I should say. Remember as well, like, I'm about to wrap this episode up, but just remembering, like, when we're working on ourselves and we are just wanting to feel like a better version of ourselves, we're not fixing ourselves, we're just having that awareness. It's not about not getting triggered, because that's where we grow, but it's just to like know how to come back to yourself, whether that's like taking deep breaths or like whatever it looks like for you, because your child, your partner, your family, they don't need a perfect version of you. Don't set unrealistic expectations for yourself. They don't need that. They absolutely do not need the perfect version of you. But what they do need is a regulated, a responsive version of you. So just remembering, if you're feeling dysregulated, finding that space. And if this is new to you, maybe like sitting down with your partner or your support person and being like, look, I recognize in these situations it's very triggering for me. I am working on myself. I am trying to understand where this is coming from so that I can show up more regulated, but can I have a little bit of help? If you're noticing me get dysregulated, if you're noticing me raise my voice, if you're noticing me seem really angry or really upset or whatever it is, can you support me in this way? And that might be, can you just give me a hug? Could you just tell me it's okay to sit down for 5 minutes? You know, like things like that, because I think as well as mums, like it's so easy to be like, nope, I've got it, like I'm holding it together, I'm good. And sometimes you need to be told, like, actually go sit the fuck down and I'm gonna cook dinner tonight, or go sit down, I've got the kids, I'm gonna take them out, or here's a hug, or here's a kiss on the forehead. Like, men are also wired so completely differently that they sometimes don't know how to support, because especially if we're getting into attachment styles and like for example, my partner and I, he is avoidant, I'm an anxious. So when I am upset, I really want him to hug me, be there, like hold me. But when he is feeling dysregulated, he needs space. He needs to remove himself. He needs to go for a drive and listen to his favorite music. So we have different ways of needing support. So we didn't know that until we sat down and had these conversations and got to know each other and understood that we needed different things. And it doesn't mean either are right or wrong, but I think it's just, you know, everyone's wired differently. I shouldn't just say men are wired differently. We really all are. But yeah. So I hope this episode's helped. I feel like this is actually really nice to record. So I just want to remind you, I do have my event coming up on the 11th of April on the Sunshine Coast held. I've got all the details. I'll leave it linked below over on my Instagram. Doing a giveaway over on my Instagram. If you would like a free space, go and enter. I also want to remind you, please, 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 if you could subscribe to my podcast. So follow the show, share it with a friend, all the things to help the podcast grow, which it has been growing, which is so exciting. Oh my gosh. You can probably hear the smile on my face, but like I have actually just been in a very like what the fuck moment like for the past like few weeks, because everything is just really landing so beautifully, and I feel like I'm just like really starting to get this community of mums like oh my god, it's just like so amazing. I just feel like my podcast is just like really supporting so many people, and like that's obviously why I started it. I wanted it to be like a really like vulnerable, like raw, messy, like educational, all the things, like I feel like everything that I'm doing, but it's just like, oh my god, wait, the way it's actually like already that's actually happening is just like, oh, it's unbelievable. Like I'm just so grateful. I'm just so excited to just like see where the podcast keeps growing, but I can't grow without your help. So if you could please make sure you're subscribed, rate the show, give me a rating as well on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That really helps the show as well. All the things. So just a little recap of kind of like what we've spoken about. You don't need to be ready. You absolutely don't need to be ready. There's nothing wrong with having triggers. I think it's really like good to understand how your nervous system responds to stress, and like practicing receiving that help, practicing some tools, implementing those tools. Let go of being perfectionism being like your standard, being your baseline, because it's absolutely so unattainable. And like, yeah, it might be attainable for a certain amount of time, and then you're going to burn out and feel shit, and we don't want that. And it's also really good to build support systems like now, wherever you are, like if you're preconception, pregnant, postpartum, you know, get to know those mums, have those conversations with your support person, your partner. I just feel like, you know, it's just setting yourself up for like a really beautiful experience. just remember as well, you can do all this healing, but the sorry, I just like, you can do all this healing. You can go and do, you know, a like healing session every week and go to all these breathwork sessions and do all the things. And I've been there, I've done it too. But do you know what? Motherhood will change you more than any healing modality ever will. So it's not about being perfect, it's just about willing to be transformed. Let that land. Motherhood will change you more than any healing modality ever will, but you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to be transformed. Absolute mic drop to end that one. Thank you so much for being here. Love you so much. Can't wait for next week. We've got birth stories and guest episodes on Fridays now, and we've got solo episodes on the Monday. Don't forget, let me know in the comments or send me a DM if there's any topics that you want to hear. Love you. Can't wait to be back in your ears next week. Bye.